Now, when Hamlet emerges on stage as part of the Stafford Shakespeare Festival, we've got the inimitable Benedict, who is going to be taking that role. He's with me now to tell me quite what he's got going on and how much he's enjoying it, because you are loving this experience, aren't you?
I am. Sorry, I only have to take this off you because
you can hold the mic if you want to.
No, I must. I obviously hold quite a few things in the play as well, namely the skull.
Yes.
This is probably the most challenging thing I've ever done, but at the same time the most exhilarating. I'm really, really being pushed into every kind of corner of his mind, every fluctuation, and the text and the cast and the director really encourage you to kind of go to the most brave moments. Push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of. So I'm living the dream, really.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to take the pseudo skull back from you.
Take it from me.
But obviously it is immersive, isn't it, Shakespeare? I mean, you've got to live it and believe it. And I think particularly the time over which the stories have been known and told, you've had many actors in Hamlet's shoes. And I think, again, that's part of why you have to believe you are he.
It's a really good point. Probably one of my biggest fears when I accepted the job was being aware that it's an iconic role, and being aware of the incredible actors who played him in the past. And you kind of have to get to a point where you accept that you won't do a job like any of those people, because your interpretation will be your own true, resemblance of Hamlet himself. None of those previous performances that those actors did, that none of them are alike, because the thing about Hamlet is, as actors, interestingly, we spend our whole lives trying to play somebody else, convince ourselves that we're somebody else, convince the audience that we're in that person's shoes. But with Hamlet, he's spending the whole play trying to be himself. And so there's a bit of a paradox there, but also because the play deals with what it means to be alive, family, grief, secrets of the heart, they're all things that are prevalent to what we live and feel now. So if Shakespeare was writing about these things 400 years ago and they resonated, the key and the trick for us now is to make these themes prominent and make the audience feel them and sense them and taste them, and make them get completely immersed in our storytelling. And part of my job is to make it as sincere as possible. So you can be inspired by what people have done in the past, but actually it's about how I respond to the text. What does the text tell me, and what do I want to bring to the role?
But when you're working in TV roles and the likes of Emmerdale, you've got there a life you're bringing to the screen that, again, people believe in, and they're living a story alongside them. So, I mean, is this even more immersive than sort of taking on a role where you're walking down the street, people believe you are your character?
I mean, I think the goal for any actor probably should be to tell the truth. The difficulty with this play, and what makes it such a challenge that most actors want to accept, is the fact that it is so multi-layered and multifaceted, and the only way that you can therefore do it justice and put it on stage and ask for an audience to come and see it is to find the truth in what you're saying. With this play, we're dealing with the supernatural. We're dealing with pretty big plot points, things that happen around Hamlet that are quite extreme and quite extraordinary, and to him quite cruel and disbelieving. So, I have to think very hard when I work on the script and work in rehearsals. What truth do I bring to that? How do I respond to those things that make sense? It's about finding a clarity, really, and a specificity. But you mentioned Emmerdale. I probably would have approached that role in a similar way, regardless of the content being completely different and working in a different medium. I would have approached the script and thought, why am I saying that line? Why do I feel that way? You know, you can't kind of fluff these things. You've got to buy into it completely.
And Shakespeare was one for testing his actors, wasn't he? And I think that's again another part of it. You're being challenged every time you pick up a script.
Yes. I mean, he does... Many people argue that he, and it's probably true, he does give you clues and tips, actually, because his verse form is written in such a way that he's actually kind of telling you where to breathe, where to end a thought, where to begin a thought. Does a new thought come quickly? So that's really useful in terms of dealing with particular parts of verse. And then he'll actually, in Hamlet, he writes in prose quite a lot, which would suggest that some of the thinking might be a bit more casual and maybe almost everyday to how humans think these days. But it is tricky, but I think that's probably why people want to do it, because there's such a richness in it. You know, there's not really a naturalism. A lot of people these days, including myself, you know, you'll watch TV and you'll kind of get used to the way that people talk these days, and the pauses and the sort of and, you know, what noises that we make in today's society, whereas this, it's so kind of particular. But the amazing thing about Shakespeare, when it's performed well, is that it can actually resonate with such immediacy to a modern day audience if you get true meaning out of the words.
Yeah, and acting an is much harder than in real life, and I think a convincing from an actor is always a sought after thing. And I think it's the way you're thinking as part of the part. And do you leave rehearsals now thinking in Shakespearean prose?
No. No. It might keep me up at night. I sometimes read my script just before I turn out the light to try and get it ingrained. Because there are words that are obviously quite archaic. There are some phrases that have double meanings, and you want the audience to be able to convey that, to understand that, sorry. But no, thankfully I'm still talking normally.
Fingers crossed it stays that way.
Yeah.
And one probably less serious question is the stubble. It's featured on the side of the castle already. It's in all the posters. Are you buying yourself a 1990s stubble sort of maintenance kit to keep yourself going there?
Well, funny enough, if you'd asked me that question last week, you would have seen a beard. So at the moment, I'm playing with Hamlet's facial hair.
It's an important part of the job, though. Your face is going to do the acting, even when you're saying
yeah,
live.
it is. I mean, it's part of the expectation that people have. I haven't decided yet what he's going to look like in terms of stubble, but I'm glad it's going down well, according to yourself.
It's featuring. That's the thing. You can get your tickets from gatehousetheatre.co.uk or give the box office a call on 01785 619080. You can see Benedict and the rest of the team bringing Shakespeare to life. Have a brilliant time, break a leg, and just make sure the facial hair is spot on, just as the script will be.
Will do. Thank you.